Love lives here.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. When you hear the word faith, right? When you hear the word faith, what image pops to mind? Limp Bizkit, okay? When you hear faith, what image pops to mind? Is it like lights or like sunlight coming down from a cloud? Light? Is it a cross? What is the image that you have of faith? It's a feeling, a belief, a person praying. Okay. All right. So this is the image that I have when I hear faith. Actually, are they seeing that there at home? Are they seeing that there at home? Okay. All right, that's all right. So that's a good image of faith, right? Uh-huh. But let's be real. This is the real image of faith that I have when I hear the word faith. That's the real image that I see, right? Yeah. So, at any rate, Keep the Faith is the talk title for today. So, I wanted to lighten the mood here and, faith, faith, faith. So, plan ahead, right? Love it, Helen. This is exactly what I'm going for. Lightness of heart. Make a fool of myself, it's all good. All right, so if we're going to talk about faith today, then let us get on the same page by what we mean by the word faith. And faith isn't a church, faith isn't a religion, faith isn't any of that. The way that Ernest Holmes defines faith in the back of the Science of Mind text, so in the glossary back there, for all of you, Science of Mind nerds on page 591.5, all right, you can find his definition of faith. Faith is a mental attitude. Faith is a mental attitude. It's so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it, okay? So faith is a mental attitude so inwardly embodied, right? Meaning that it's so in part of who we are, that we have incorporated it, we've embodied it, that the mind, our mind, cannot deny it. Then faith is complete. Faith, so complete faith, right? Faith is complete when there is both a conscious and a subjective acceptance. So what does that mean? Conscious means like you're awake, you're aware, you're paying attention, you're conscious, right? And so you're consciously accepting it. But a subjective acceptance means that your subconscious mind has now accepted faith as the new operating system, right? That's what the subjective acceptance means. So, faith can be consciously generated. This makes sense. We can consciously generate faith. We can build our faith. We can consciously generate faith. And he goes on further to say that in spiritual terminology, meaning the way we're using it, faith means a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and law. So it's a belief in it's a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and law. Okay? And what does this invisible principle and law do? It directly and specifically responds to us. Anybody want to recap what I just said about faith? You got that definition? You're going to be able to repeat it back later. There's a test. I'm going to write down faith, and you're just going to write it down, right? So we're going to talk about it so that it can go deeper, okay? So let me just read the whole thing together. I like breaking it down because it makes more sense, but let's read the whole thing together. Faith is a mental attitude so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. Faith is complete when there is conscious and subjective acceptance. Faith may be consciously generated, and in spiritual terminology, faith means a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and law which directly and specifically responds to us. Make sense? Are we in agreement with our definition of faith for the time being? Yes. Okay. So, basically what Ernest is telling us is that faith is believing in the law, and that the law is always responsive to us. So how do we build faith? We use spiritual mind treatment. Corey, there's a place over here for you if you'd like to come over here. We use spiritual mind treatment. We meditate, and we develop this relationship. We develop this trust, and we develop it by our faith, our belief, right? And how much we believe. We've talked about the big as, or in this case, a cute one, right? That the amount that we believe is directly correlated to what we receive, or the depth of our belief is directly correlated to what we receive, correct? Thank you. All right. So, in order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well, right? Because there is only one power, one presence, one eternal life that is living, moving, breathing, and expressing itself in, through, and as all of creation. We are inseparable from it. We know that there is how many? One, right? Is there a power opposed to this one? No, there is not a power opposed to this one. It is not a duality. There are not two powers. Though my hair this morning, when I saw my hair this morning, you would have thought differently. Because the way I slept, I had two little horns sticking up on my head. However, we all have that side to us, don't we? Right? But there is only one power. There is only one presence. So, in order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well. And in order to keep faith, keep the faith, in order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought which will weaken this conviction. Faith is built up from a belief, acceptance, and trust. Whenever anything enters our thought which destroys in any degree one of these attitudes, to that extent, faith is weakened. Science Mind 159. For all my Science Mind nerds. Okay? I know some of you are like, whoa, let me write down the citation. Right? Yeah, Allison, I can see her like over there gleefully writing down these things. Right? So, in order for us to have faith, we have to have a conviction that all is well. But in order to keep that faith, right, we must allow no thought to enter that would weaken that conviction. In other words, no belief, no acceptance, no trust. If anything enters which destroys that, any thought that enters that destroys our belief, our acceptance, or our trust, to that degree, our faith is weakened. And nobody wants weak faith, do we? No. But one of those things that weakens faith is our fear, right? And, oh, my beloveds, we are swimming in a cesspool of fear, are we not? Right? Some of us, a lot of us, many of us, right? But we're swimming in a cesspool of fear. And what does Ernie have to say about fear? Fear is nothing but faith misplaced. Ooh, let me say that again, because that one went bam, 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 slapped you around a little bit, right? Fear is nothing but faith misplaced. It's a belief in guess how many powers? 2. Faith is a belief in 1. Fear is a belief in 2. Fear is a belief in duality. Fear is a belief that there is a power that could be opposed to God or opposed to spirit that influences or has the ability to bring about evil, right? So, in order to correct all the evils of the world, would be to have a positive faith, a faith rightly placed, a faith that lays hold of the integrity of the universe, the beneficence of God, and the unity of all life. Allison, page 156.2. Right? So fear, the fear that we've been experiencing, at the root of the fear that we've been experiencing is really a belief. It is a belief, it is a faith in separation. It's a faith in 2 powers. It is a faith, it is a belief that there is something evil in the world that is opposed to God, that is in constant battle with spirit. Now, whether you consciously believe this, right, the conscious, or whether there is some kind of subconscious or subjective mind that is at work, it's still present until we build our faith to such the degree that we no longer allow that fear to operate within us. Now, it does not happen like, okay, I'm going to have faith. Oh. Right? We work it. We work it. We work it. We build the faith. We build the faith. The reason we suffer is because we are not conscious and we are not experiencing conscious or subjective communication with the affirmative side of life. That's why we're suffering. That's why we experience the fear. That's why we experience the pain and the suffering that we mentally go through, is because we are not both consciously and subjectively communicating with the affirmative side of life, right? We are continuing to perpetuate the separation. And as long as we continue to perpetuate the separation, we continue to live in fear, we continue to experience suffering. And we limit our faith because we fail to realize that, here's the phrase, principle is not bound by precedent. We limit our faith because we fail to realize that principle is not bound by present. We limit our faith to that which we've already accomplished, that which we already seen, that which we already know, and thus miracles appear not to happen. Because we've limited our faith by our expectation and our experiences. But when we have the faith that is a deeper faith, when we have the faith of Spirit, not just the faith in Spirit, then possibility happens. The greater the possibilities emerge. Are you tracking me so far? So, if I am living in fear, I'm actually having faith in 2 powers. And I continue to suffer because I continue to believe in the faith of 2 powers. But the more that I accept, affirm, and trust, and believe that there is only one power, the more that I embody that, the fear subsides. I'm now anchored in spiritual principle. You are now anchored in spiritual principle. Fear subsides, right? And light and love and truth have a way to be able to come forward because there's not things blocking the way. How are we doing? Excellent. All right, I like excellent. So Allison, 158.45. Ernest says, we are not going through a harder time today or a longer or darker night than has ever been experienced before. It only seems darker because we've lost faith. Faith, the beacon of light. If one will have faith in themselves, in their fellow people, in the universe, and in God, that faith will light the place in which they find themselves. And by the light of this faith, they will be able to see that all is good. And the light shed by this faith will, in fact, light the way for others. We become conscious of the darkness only when we are without faith. Let me say that again. We become conscious of the darkness only when we are without faith. For faith is ever the light of our day and the light on our way, making that way clearly visible to us, even when to all others it may be beset with obstacles and ongoing difficulty. So faith is the ever light of our way and ever light of our day and light of our way, making that way clearly visible to us, even when to others it may be beset with obstacles and ongoing rough. So my beloveds, here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, last week we talked about come as you are. Be able to experience all the emotions that you're experiencing and feeling them through to completion. We're not denying it. We're not hiding it. We're not trying to suppress it. We're allowing it to move. And I called upon you last week to continue to be the power and presence of love that you are out into the world. Be the power and the presence of love that you are for yourself. Be the power and the presence of love that you are out into the world. That was your homework. That was your assignment, right? This week, we're adding on top of that. I'm inviting you into a place of faith, belief, and conviction. Ernest calls them creative and dynamic instruments to be used in everyday living. They're dynamic instruments to be used. So what I'm inviting you to do is I'm inviting you to take this faith that you've built thus far, and continue to build upon it. Continue to build upon and make conscious the idea that there is only one power, there is only one presence, there is not two. There is no power opposed to light. There's no power opposed to love. There's no power opposed to spirit. There is only this one. I invite you to continue to practice and hone that and build that for yourselves. And in so doing, you show up not only as the power and the presence of love, but you show up as the power and the presence of faith, the power and the presence of light that you are. For you are all of it. Allison, page 162.5. If we are to have an active faith, Ernest tells us, let's say it again. If we are to have an active faith, not a passive faith, not a faith that just sits on the sidelines and watches. If we are to have an active faith, meaning take action. I'm going to take a sip of water. If we are to have an active faith, the faith of God, rather than a faith in God. Let's pause there for a second. A faith of God means a full and complete knowing that there is only one power, one presence. That is a faith of God, and that the law works. It's a faith of knowing that the law works. The law of creation works. That we are inseparable from it, that we can co-create with it, that we can use the law, and the law responds to us. Remember the definition at the beginning? That it specifically and directly responds to our belief, to our thoughts, to our ideas. That we know this invisible principle and law directly and specifically responds. So that is the law, that is the faith of God, instead of a faith in God. Yeah, I believe in God. I believe in Spirit. That's not enough. It's the faith of, not the faith in. So our thought must be centered in the universal mind. We are convinced that under the divine law, all things are possible if only we believe and work in conformity with the law, with the principles of that law. Such a faith does not spring fully orbed into being, like I mentioned, but grows by the knowledge and acceptance. It grows by the practicing. No matter the outside appearance, we must cling steadfastly to the knowledge that God is good and God is all, underneath, above, and round about. So I want to take this moment here to pause, shake a little bit, right? And we're going to go to tables, and we'll have some discussion here around faith. So you have the opportunity at your tables to discuss what you have faith in, what you do to keep the faith, as we described, keeping the faith, right? And what you do to strengthen your faith. So these are your questions. You have the questions there at the tables. I invite you to go ahead and begin discussing these three questions. Any questions? No? Good. So your homework for this week is to identify one action. Remember that an action means that if I were to ask you, you would be able to show me proof that you did it. So one action you will take this week to increase or to build your faith or keep the faith. Okay? So, one action that you will do this week to build or keep the faith. So that first identify it, and then, do it. Don't just identify it, do it. Okay? That is your work for this week. And your work for this week, too, is also to keep showing up as the power and the presence of love that you are. So you already got half your homework done because, you're radiant beings of love and joy right here and right now. So, hey, hallelujah, you already completed that. So now you get to do the other part too. All right? Sound good? Sound like a plan? Yeah. And so it is.
And so it is.
So, 160.1, Ernest says, if we are speaking from the standpoint of spirit, then there can be no opposition to it. It is only when we let go of all human will and recognize the pure essence of spiritual principle incarnated in us that the thought arises above a belief in duality. So, coming together, I recognize that there is just this one life. Speaking from this standpoint of spirit, I recognize that there is only one. There is not two, there is only one. One power, one presence, one life, one love, one eternal, infinite presence that is forever expressing itself through itself as itself into all of creation. It is this one glorious joy, love, abundance, peace, harmony, divine order. It is all in all. It is everything, seen and unseen. It is the totality. It is the oneness. And so I recognize that because there is just this oneness, this unity, that I am one within it. I am it. It is me. I am inseparable from it. I live, move, breathe, and have my being in, through, and as it in, through, and as me. For there is no separation. There is only this one life, only this one love. So therefore, I know that because there is only one, that all of life, all of creation, everyone present here this day, everyone, everywhere, for all time and all eternity, and all life, all being from time in eternity, is this one, because the universe is the manifest body of this one life, the manifest expression of this one life. And so I now speak my word here and now for our beloved community, for all those present here, all those gathered here, all those who call this place their home. I speak my word for each and every one, knowing that it is the word of the divine that is spoken, knowing it is the word of love, knowing it is the word of life, knowing it is the word of unity that is spoken here this day. And so I call forth the unity. I call forth the faith in this presence. I call forth the love that I know is present right here. I call it all forth. And I stand firm in it. I stand in the faith of God. I stand in the faith of Spirit, knowing that it radiates as I do. It radiates from within me out into the greater world. That the light shines within me, and the light shines, and I shine it. I allow it to shine beyond me. And this light, this love, touches everyone that comes in contact with it, whether physically or in consciousness alone. I know that there is the peace, the joy, the harmony, the love that must be, because it always is. And so for this, I do give thanks. I give thanks for the unity and the wholeness, the oneness. I give thanks for the faith of Spirit, the faith of God, here and now, in and as each one. And I release this word with complete faith that it is done. A complete and total embodiment that the word is manifest now. I let it be, and so it is. And so I invite everyone to please stand, and let's say this affirmation together. Notice the blue jeans. I keep faith. I have faith. I keep faith. My faith is strong. I have faith. I keep faith. My faith is strong. I have faith. I keep faith. My faith is strong. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It's this thing called love. Love is in my mind. Love is in my body. Love is in everything I do. I am it. I share it. And I receive it. Because love lives here. Let's sing it.